Hi, coaches. This is a note for any of you out there who might be happening to be freaking out about money, about your business, about how much money your business is bringing in, about what about the rent, about the kids, and what about the house, and what about all of these things, and then the family, and then the economy, and the business, and what's going on with it all. And working really, really hard to do the right things. So the to-do lists are long, and the activity level is high, and everything that you're doing is filled with stress. You're trying not to panic. You're trying to think the right thoughts. But really, there's a frenetic energy and a tension, like a coiled up on the inside, because you got to make it work. Because if it doesn't work, oh my God, everything's going to fall apart. That. I've had this conversation 3 times this week with one with a coaching group and with 2 private clients. So I feel like there's something in the air right now. Maybe it's the holidays, maybe it's the economy. I don't know. It seems to be the time and the moment to talk about this. So from experience, I've had this experience, I don't know, here, 2 times, 3 times over the course of my career so far. I've been doing this about 12 years, I'd say, from the beginning of my coaching practice till now. Maybe it's happened 2 or 3 times where whatever the logistics and circumstances and context of what was going on with my business, it was in a dip. It had plateaued and then it was in a dip. Maybe it was in the beginning when it was just starting, and then, cycles and etc. And dips, and the kind of dip where it got scary, like you're looking at the bank balance and it's like, oh no. And so you're doing all this doing, and it's hard to do the doing. It's hard to write the emails and make the social media posts and reach out to people and whatever the activities are, that when you're like happy and turned on and excited, it's easy. It's fun, it's natural, it's exciting, it connects with your people. But from this state of panic, it's really hard. And then you resist doing it, so you're not even doing it as much as you would be doing it if you weren't so stressed out. But you're forcing and trying really hard because of the panic. And this is how it's worked for me. So I'm sharing that, and I shared it 3 times this week, and it seems to have really resonated, which is why I'm sharing it here. It gets to a point where all that tension and all that panic and stress and anxiety isn't helpful. It really, really isn't helpful. And I just hit a wall where I had just done all the things that I could possibly do, and it wasn't changing anything. And it really looked like, I don't know. And worst case scenario, catastrophizing was happening in my head. Like I wouldn't be able to pay the rent. And what if I end up homeless, living on the boardwalk in Venice or something? Or what if I'm going to have to move back in with my parents. I'm 45 years old, or however old I was at the time. I'm going to have to move back in with my parents. And what does that mean about me and whatever? But also, do I want to even do that? Like, that's just so failure, distress. But really, ultimately, it doesn't even need to make sense. In my unconscious world, where my vigilance center and my fear responses come from, and my woundings from childhood and all that kind of stuff, there's some destitute version of myself living in the gutter that I'm trying to stave off with all this doing, and what if my business fails? And I get in touch with that feeling. I really notice, what am I really thinking the story is that it's making me panic so much? And it's like, okay, that's good to know. That's my worst case scenario panic story. And then I just got enough distance by doing that. Then I'm able to think, oh, what if this really happens and the whole thing just falls apart? Will it really happen? Well, let's say right now, it's like, I have Fluffy, and I have my partner, and I have my parents, and they're not going anywhere. And they're the most important thing in my world. Like, the place I live can change, the country I live can change, but that's the most important thing. And maybe, or You know, even if I end up living in a homeless shelter, I kind of know I'm going to end up coaching the people in a homeless shelter. Or if I end up wherever I'm going to be, there's going to be something, it's going to suck making the adjustment. And then I'm going to somehow keep doing what I'm doing, right? The worst case scenario doesn't actually look like what I'm scared that it's going to look like and what my body is reacting to. So that creates a little opening for surrender. So a little opening for, okay, I don't need to grip so hard. I don't need to force it so much. I could just let it go and just give myself a little breathing space, because the panic motion isn't creating the results I need. And surrender here. And there's this idea of, you know, when you've done everything else you've got to do, surrender can be a power move. A power move. And how is that true in this case? Well, you know, if that's what happens, that's what happens. And the moment you approve of it, the moment you're like, okay, I might need to have to move or whatever, take the kids out of that school and then they'll be in that school or whatever, your body's able to relax. Your mind, your somatic systems just takes a breath and goes, okay. And somehow you feel you're okay again, even though you just actually accepted and surrendered what might happen. And once that goes on, as a coach, and this is for all the coaches, but anyone else who has a career doing something they super love, think about, you know, if you had $10 million in your bank account, would you still be coaching? If you had no dollars in your bank account, would you still be coaching? And I gave that example for myself. You know, if I really was in the homeless shelter, I'd really kind of end up helping, supporting, coaching the people in the homeless shelter. I wouldn't stop doing this. And I find for the coaches I surround myself with and work with and really to succeed, coaching is a calling in a way where it isn't like the newest fad thing that I'm doing because I don't know what to do with my life, but it really is something profound that we can't not do. We will continue to do it, which is good to know. Because now, from this place of surrender and respite, you take a breath, and then you can re-engage with your coaching practice. From that place of it as a calling. Back from where it's all about the love, and it's all about the people, and it's all about the quality of the connection and the joy of sharing and serving, and who's the next person that I could help turn the light on. And the quality of the work and the quality of the doing all of a sudden changes, and people can feel it, and they start responding to you differently. And every time I've gone through this cycle, somehow the clients show up. Whereas all my panicked doing wasn't producing any results. The actual heartfelt from my soul to others, irregardless of where I was going to end up in my financial world or whatever I thought the catastrophe was going to be, brought the real and true community that really felt it. That really felt it. I think there's just something that happens in the field underneath that, even though we're not consciously aware of, we can sense where people are coming from, and we're attracted to a certain kind of being and energy. Yeah. There's a magnetism. So surrender is a power move. It doesn't mean not doing. It means finally the ability to do from the place that you decided to build this whole thing in the first place for. Happy coaching, coaches.